Hey there friends, I'm Andrew from the Scrapbox, and in June, LEGO released the Disney Main Street USA set. And it's bad. Like, really bad. I actually waited to make this video. I wanted the first week to go by just to see if people actually hated it or if it was another Pokemon thing where everybody said, I'm not gonna buy that, then it sold out immediately. And it turns out, yeah, this set sucks. And a lot of people are claiming LEGO has completely lost the plot. And it's really left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But why? Why is this set so offensive? Well, today we're gonna discuss how this set fails every major point a set should pass, and then we're gonna make a solution. I'm going to design my own version of Main Street to show it is possible to make a good version. So let's get to it. First and foremost is the odd decision to choose Main Street USA for their big Disney set. Take a look at the past Disney D2C sets. We've got the 2016 castle, the 2023 castle, Beauty and the Beast castle, and of course the Disneyland train. I don't think we can call this a castle. Each of these are based on Disney park attractions, with these two being Cinderella's castle from Florida's Disney World, the Disney Railroad in Anaheim, and Beauty and the Beast pulling from multiple smaller attractions. The key to making a successful set is to cast the widest net or have the broadest audience appeal. As an example, let's say you want to make a set like this one. The starting audience is the entire world. But since it's a LEGO set, your audience must also like LEGO. Let's say that's half the world. But since this is a Nike set, your audience must also be Nike fans. Let's say a quarter. The remaining people are the potential customers who'd want to buy your set. The larger the number, the larger the sales. So if you're a fan of the Disney parks, you'd relate to these sets. But these are not Disney park exclusive. Each of these sets originate from their own movies. Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, even the Disney Railroad has iterations in animation. Plus, it's a train. A lot of people like trains. You could have never stepped foot in a Disney park and still know and love these places, meaning these have a much wider audience. Now take a look at Main Street USA. This set slices off all the external audience because its appearance is exclusive to the Disney parks. Furthermore, while sets like the Disney train are specifically based on the Anaheim location, it's more of a mix of all the Disney trains, but 2/3 of the set are exclusive to only the Main Street in Anaheim. Technically, Magic Kingdom has a smaller firehouse of a different build, but you get the point. While these all have a very wide net, this set is for people who love LEGO, Disney, love the Disney parks, but specifically Disneyland in Anaheim. And that is a very small niche. But enough speaking broadly, let's look at some specifics. If you've been around LEGO long enough, you've probably heard the phrase price per piece ratio, which refers to the fact that the average piece of LEGO should cost around 10 cents. Now be warned, whenever the price per piece ratio is brought up, there's always some Neanderthal who doesn't know averages in the comments screaming, "You think a base plate costs the same as the 1x1 tile? You're dumb." But I'm really hoping everybody watching this video has at least a 4th grade understanding of math. Imagine a set with 200 pieces. At 10 cents per piece, this set would be priced at $20. Good, and we can see that this constant has remained for over a decade. Of course, there are outliers, since large printed pieces cost much more to make than small unprinted pieces. And then of course we can also see extremes like Marilyn Monroe with over 3,000 pieces for $120 because it's mostly tiny 1x1s. Or on the other end, Mindstorms with only 601 pieces for $350. But it features advanced electronics and motors to make your own robot. So at the end of the day, the average is usually around 10 cents per piece. And taking a look, even with royalties to Disney, these past D2C sets have had great piece ratios. But whenever they don't, you have to take a closer look, and this one makes sense because it has an entire motor and battery pack, plus all the large pieces for the track. So when all of the past sets clear with flying colors, it's odd that the new one doesn't. Especially since I don't know where all of the pieces even went. This does not look like a nearly 4,000 piece set. Maybe a 3,000 piece set, but not a 4,000 piece set. Some of these buildings have only 5 stud depths inside, and these don't even have a proper second floor. Or even ceilings for that matter. Compared to the Natural History Museum, same rough number of pieces, this is $100 less, and this is a fully enclosed modular taking up 1.5 base plates, it has full exhibits, tiled floors, and a ton of little details. This set is practically bursting at the seams. Then you go back to Main Street and it's sad. So where are all these pieces hiding? Almost seems at this point they're using the concept of the price per piece ratio to trick people into thinking it's a better deal than it is. I'm not saying that's what they planned on doing, but that is what it seems like. That they went, I want to sell this for $400, but right now it's only 3,200 pieces, and that would look terrible. But if we take a ton of small, really cheap pieces and hide them in there, we can artificially get a better piece ratio, even though all the tiny pieces are completely unnecessary. It'll make it seem like it's a better deal, even though in reality, we're just wasting pieces. But let's move away from math and numbers for a second, because I really want to talk about the minifigures. A lot of LEGO fans love minifigures. In fact, what minifigures are present in a set is the determining factor for a large portion of customers. Not everyone. Yes, Fazgoo32, we know you're special. But the figures are the largest draw, and that's why LEGO produces 3 to 4 sets of CMFs each year, because they know that's what a lot of people want. And they'll even use that fact to get people to buy things they otherwise wouldn't. You want the only Venom movie minifigure? Well, you're gonna have to buy the whole bust. Belle and Gaston come in $100 sets, but if you want Beast, Maurice, or LeFou, then you're gonna have to pay $300. I know a lot of people who spend $400 on the Disney Castle because it's the only way to get Rapunzel and Eugene as minifigures. The point is, all you really have to do to get a large set to sell is stick a couple cool figures in there and you're good to go. And this doesn't even meet that standard. Take a look at Mickey and Minnie, the only 2 Disney characters in the lot. That's insane. I know that Dapper Dan's technically had an animated cameo, but it doesn't count. Back to the mice. These 2 figures are technically exclusive, yes, but in reality, they're just remakes of the versions from the 2016 castle. So unless you're crazy and must have every slight variation of Mickey, these figures add no value. But let's say you missed out on the 2016 castle and you don't want any other versions. You need these outfits for Mickey and Minnie. This set isn't going to give you nearly the same quality, as these new figures are actually much worse. With Minnie, you're losing side printing on both the sides of the legs and the arms. And worse for Mickey, you're losing the side printing and his fabric coattails. Which means these 2 are duds, and they're the only animated characters. So you've lost a wide portion of the Disney audience who cares more about the characters than the buildings themselves. On a positive note, you have the Dapper Dans, which if we accept the fact that this is only Anaheim's Disneyland, then yes, absolutely, they are a pivotal part of Main Street. And they look great. You couldn't really ask for more. Honestly, I think they're the highlight of the set. But after that, we have the staff members. I feel like just when I talked about the Haunted Mansion set, this needs a disclaimer. Now I know it's hard on the internet, but you're gonna have to trust me that 2 things can be true at the same time. 1, we love all the wonderful staff members who work at the Disney parks. They make the rides run, they make the guest experience nice, they bring the magic to the Disney parks. Without them, there's no Disney World, there's no Disneyland, there's nothing. Or the staff members are the most important. And we love and we cherish all the hard work and dedication they put in. Okay. That's true. That is true. Everybody understands? We hold that to be true. Second truth, we don't need them as minifigures, especially since out of all the minifigures in this set, there are only 2 actual Disney characters. And we could have used these spots to fill up more characters. Or, like they did with the train set, you could have given classic animated characters the jobs of these staff members. These figures aren't good, they're not bad, they just are. Take them or leave it, solid middle ground. Once again, we love all the hard work and dedication the staff members provide. Do I need a minifigure of one? No. But with those figures set aside, we have to face the core issue this set has. LEGO's fundamental misunderstanding of their audience. Almost half of the minifigures are dedicated to random normal people wearing Disney shirts. This is something that has never appeared in any of the other sets, and it's the largest red flag I've seen in a long time. Now you might be thinking, Andrew, what's wrong with that? You have a bunch of shirts with pop culture icons on them, and you love Disney. And both of those are true. I do have a lot of shirts with game and show and movie references on them, and I very much enjoy Disney film. But I think the distinction can be summed up with this one minifigure. This is Anthony. Anthony is in normal everyday attire. One of the things he's wearing is a t-shirt from one of his favorite pop culture icons. Anthony is a decently sought out figure that people seem to enjoy. Do they like him because he's wearing a Black Sabbath shirt? Not particularly. They like him because Anthony Edward Stark is Iron Man, an extremely popular superhero. Now this is Gerald from accounting. Gerald is in normal everyday attire. One of the things he's wearing is a t-shirt from one of his favorite pop culture icons. Nobody cares about Gerald.
You mean nothing to me.
Now I love Stitch. I might even get a shirt with Stitch on it. I'd definitely get a minifigure of Stitch. In fact, I have multiple, but there's no chance in the entire universe that I would ever want a minifigure of a random guy who is wearing a t-shirt of Stitch. That is just a baffling amount of stupidity. And this is where LEGO has fully lost the plot. There are tons of unique characters and stores they could have chosen from for Main Street, but they chose to make a generic Disney IP store. While this is a celebration of the characters and stories that we love, this is a celebration of people buying things. This whole set is just an ode to consumerism. And that's why it's left such a sour taste in people's mouths. LEGO's showing us that they don't think of us as fans, but instead we're just wallets ready to buy. And that really sucks, because now this set has failed at every single point. So, the set sucks. Through and through. And honestly, I could end the video right here, but I can't. Because then we'd be no better than those losers who say rude things in the comments, but then don't actually do anything about it. All of our arguments mean nothing if this is the only way to make Main Street. So in order to prove our arguments valid, we're gonna have to make our own Main Street. A better Main Street. And that seems like a lot of work. So let's get to it. So here's the rules. We need to be able to compare the two. So 1, we need the same number of pieces, or slightly less, and 2, it has to be based on the same Main Street from the same Disney park. Simple enough. And in the spirit of fairness, I'm going to also make the firehouse with Walt's apartment in it. Let's get started. As I was building the firehouse, I had it in my head that each potential building would be 16 studs wide as sort of mini modulars that could be mixed and matched. That way I could hopefully get more buildings in there, and then people could put them in whatever order they like. However, this concept was immediately challenged by the firehouse, which cannot be made with a 16 stud width. That's not an exaggeration, take a look. The firehouse is symmetric, so on the sides you need a stud for the outer wall, then the door is 4 studs wide, which means the other side must match, another stud for the column, and that would leave us with only 4 studs in the middle. And we need a minimum of 6 if we can even hope to get a fire truck through there. So our firehouse has to be at least 18 studs wide, but let's just hope that that's the exception and not the rule. However, overall, it's a pretty simple build. Firehouse on bottom, and Walt's strange apartment on the top. I did my best to incorporate as much as I could into the build, but at the end of the day, it is LEGO, so we'll see what makes it in. And in the end, I came up with this version of the building, which better resembles the shape of the actual building and manages to fit everything the official set had in nearly half the space. I also ended up actually building it, mostly because it's easier to film and compare an actual building than a digital one. Now, there are some pieces that are different as I don't have every piece in the universe, but I did what I could. It's got the basic downstairs, concrete floor, firehouse decor on the wall, this little horse section. The doors also swing open and give you an impressive amount of open area inside. Yes, the sidewalk is short, but we're gonna fix that later. And then upstairs it has the whole seating / pull-out couch area. And then of course an actual ceiling and tower. The weird part is that all of this together is 980 pieces, and I'm kind of baffled because it definitely doesn't look like it. Like, maybe it's not on LEGO and the firehouse is just cursed, folding pieces into a pocket dimension. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot the fire engine. Get off of there. This is 980 pieces. I made this little fire engine. The original design looks like this, but of course I was missing a few pieces, in particular, red wheels. Oh, you guys know I was really trying when I get out my despised tub of wheels. I nearly dumped the whole thing out looking for red wheels in that size, and I only found one. But it still looks good overall, and it fits nicely through the doors. Oh wait, this isn't 980 pieces. This is 980 pieces. That's right, filling out a fourth of the set is a complete mini modular building. It opens dollhouse style, which will be important later, and it has a kitchenette for Walt's apartment, a timeout chair and lamp because I didn't know what to put in there, an entire staircase, the vintage fireplace, and even a little bathroom. The only thing I don't like about this building is sometimes moving the doors rotates the front columns, but that's just something I'm gonna have to fix in the future. Oh, and I figured for minifigures, since Firefighter Mickey and Minnie already exist, we should have Firefighter Donald and Goofy. Their hats would probably end up being red too. But overall, a really nice start. Since the firehouse is about a fourth of our pieces, if we're able to continue this pattern, I might just be able to make 4 buildings. So we're already on track to beat the official Lego set. Nice. I wasn't quite sure where to squeeze this in, but I just wanted to say thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon members. You're the reason I can do these weird, extravagant projects like this one. Your support means everything to me, and I'm kind of bummed that there's no like 3D models or decals for this week, but I might put the studio files of each of the buildings so people can open it and take a look and build it for themselves. But put that aside for now, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. Truly. Alright, back to it. For my next building, I do not want to make the Emporium in Crystal Arcade like the original set. Mostly because of the whole ode to consumerism thing going on. What I do want to make is the Disney Clothiers store. But we're gonna build it with a secret twist by copying the one IP Disney rarely acknowledges, Kingdom Hearts.
He's at it again!
It's definitely not a secret that I grew up playing Kingdom Hearts, which is a Disney game series about a guy whose world is destroyed, and then he teams up with 2 familiar friends and flies throughout space to Disney worlds to save them from being destroyed. And we're not going any deeper than that.
We don't have time to unpack all of that.
Side note, if you haven't played the games but you have seen Gameaverse, they copied the plot almost beat for beat, even including the creepy guy with the long hair offering you help along a dark path.
Why you boring me? I'm right.
But one of the fun aspects of the series is the amount of familiar faces in unfamiliar places. Like you could visit the restaurant Le Grand Bistro and get food that boosts your stats. But taking a look at the chef, and it's Remy from Ratatouille. Or if you need a quick potion restock, you could visit a stall and, hey, he looks familiar. Need some new clothes? Visit the Good Fairies. Go to Merlin for magic lessons. Need to train? Phil will be your coach. If you're looking for spaceship parts, visit the item shop owned by Sid from Final Fantasy VII. Wait, no, I don't have time to explain that one. The point is, most of the shops and services are run by Disney characters with similar motifs, or these guys. But once again, we don't have time for that. So instead of the inside of a building being a generic store, we can make the inside a bit more magical and have it being run by a minifigure of a Disney character. Now, LEGO could use this set to fill out some of the characters that are missing from our lineups. For example, Main Street has a store where you could buy hats called the Mad Hatter. While you could have the inside look like this, you could instead have the inside as a topsy-turvy hat shop run by, pretty obviously, the Mad Hatter. Suddenly, every Alice in Wonderland fan is straining to get their paws on this set, because Hatter is the missing piece that would round out their collection. This concept of making a melting pot of characters is also one LEGO uses frequently, so I find it odd that they gave up spaces for must-have characters and filled them with random people and t-shirts. But back to the Clothiers. This is our built exterior. It's nice and fancy. You could put the sign here, and you could see I'm out of this color in 1x1s. The whole thing cracks open just like a dollhouse, same as the fire station. And instead of just a bunch of shirts and hoodies on hangers, the inside is a magical seamstress shop to make any clothes your heart can wish for. It's got dresses on mannequins, magical hats, catalog books where you can help design your dream outfit, a desk, register, stairs to a second floor, which has the private seamstress room where all the real magic happens. And who is the person who grants all of these fabric-based wishes? None other than the fairy godmother herself, and her assistant Jack Jack. We already have these characters from Cinderella, but we're missing her and Jack Jack, the perfect puzzle piece. Now before you ask, I didn't really design custom figures for all these characters, as it turns out designing multiple mini modulars with full interior takes, like, a long time. But she'll probably look something like this, and Jack Jack would look like Jack Jack. This building is 858 parts, which means we're roughly halfway through our piece count. Exterior of the shop matches the Main Street exterior, and the interior is a magical Disney version of the shop. Then the buildings can be placed in whatever order you like. You getting the gist of things? Good. It's been a little weird learning about all of these shops and stores because it feels like I'm doing it for the first time, because honestly, I haven't been to Disneyland in 2017, 2018? The Guardians Tower of Terror ride had just come out and the line was way too long, so I didn't go on it. Oh, what was 2017? It's been almost 10 years. That was my last vacation. I haven't had a vacation in 10 years. Anyways, in those 10 years, I have forgotten a lot of these stores. So it's been neat to look at them all with a new, fresh perspective. Like, Main Street has a magic shop? I mean, it's Disney, the world of magic. And LEGO didn't choose to make the magic shop. We're making the magic shop. Alakazam. Surprisingly, the real version was made before the digital version for this building, and I only made the digital model to get the full piece count. What do you guys think of the outside? Good? Close enough? You're staring at the off-colored slope at the top because I only had 5 in sand green? Me too, but the digital version has all the correct pieces. So, let's crack a pack. Is this your card? No. Guess I'll have to practice more. On display in the front window, we've got some magic artifacts, such as Genie's lamp and Yen Sid's magic hat. Then we've got 2 bookcases filled with magical books and decks of cards, which is what they sell in the store. On the other side, we've got a similar display case to the actual store, but it's filled with more magical artifacts. In fact, the entire back shelving unit is filled with potions and magical items. Plus, if you're going to be using magic, you're going to want to pick out your very own wand, now available in multiple colors. The stairs are always the hardest to squeeze in, but we fit them in there. And along the staircase are paintings. I'm just using generic portraits and whatnot, but if this was a real set, they'd probably be Disney themed. And finally, at the top, a little sorcerer's workshop for the owner to toil and trouble over. But who would that owner be? I'm honestly torn. At first I thought Yen Sid, as he is a great sorcerer, and he'd pair with Sorcerer Mickey. But I couldn't imagine Yen Sid ever opening up a shop. But you know who definitely would? Merlin. This would be a great place for him and his ward, Arthur. Altogether, this building has 875 pieces, so we're currently 3 buildings in and I have almost 1,200 pieces left. So at this point, I'm a little confused because if I set up the buildings like this has the same footprint as the buildings of the actual set. And granted, we don't have a large sidewalk yet or a popcorn cart, but we do have an entire extra side of a building, so I truly can't tell you what's going on in the official set. I'm not even using large pieces. I think I have a total of 1 panel in the whole thing, so I don't know. But I can tell you I have at least 1 more building up my sleeve. Speed round because it's 3 a.m. I was super bummed that the Crystal Arcade is not an actual arcade, but the Penny Arcade is kinda? The machines are super old arcade games, and also they sell sweet treats. Now, I did not finish this because I'm running super low on pieces, also it's 3 a.m. But I did make the front facade of the building, which includes the fortune-telling machine, the penny motion picture viewers, a rack of lollipops, and I stuck an actual arcade in there, just cuz. The back would be the stairs, the dancing Pinocchio machine, and a counter that sells treats. I had no idea what to put upstairs, but in vintage arcade fashion, it's Flynn's workshop from Tron, which means this building would have a minifigure of classic Tron, and in a mix of arcades and sweets, Vanellope. The Penny Arcade has 841 pieces, bringing our total to 3557, giving us roughly 340 pieces to play with. But I gotta subtract all the figure pieces. And let's throw the Dapper Dans in there. And the good Mickey and Minnie. Altogether, that's 54 pieces for 13 figures and 1 Jack Jack. Which means the remaining 286 pieces are going to be spent stealing benches and light posts and building a modular sidewalk system. Now man, that's only 238 pieces. Which means, I guess we got 48 left to put in our pocket. And now that we have all of our pieces in place, it's time to take a final look at Disneyland's Main Street USA. I think this project came together so well, which is great because I spent way too much time on it. Hopefully I'll be able to go back and finish the arcade, but there is one more thing. I designed these all to split in half, but really I designed the front so they would still work well as standalones. The backs are great, but not quite necessary. Which poses the question, how large could we make this street if we turn these into more buildings? We could have a very impressive main street. Yet somehow, LEGO still gave us this. You did it! You survived until the end, congratulations! This was a long project. And honestly, I'm tired. I might have to take a vacation now. But, as always, I've been Andrew. You've been watching the Scrapbox. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. We're on that crawl to 1 million subscribers. You could be one of them. But most importantly, have yourself a magical rest of your day. Bye.